All right, guys. So this is one of the last two lessons I'm posting today. I'm also going to post a fluency, and that'll be it for today. And it will be due on Sunday by 6 o'clock. Please have it done because I'm a little behind on posting who's been earning the raffle tickets, and I'd like to get all that done by Sunday after 6. So if you guys could get everything submitted by Sunday at 6, then I can post your raffle ticket entries. All right. So please get out your inquiry journals. These are the soft cover textbooks, soft cover books that go with your hardcover textbook for impact. So in your inquiry journal, I need you to go to page 38 and you will see lesson 5. How did the desert peoples of California use their environment? Okay. So just pause if I'm going too fast. So what are you learning? In this lesson, you're going to use your investigative skills to explore how the California Native Americans of the Great Basin and Colorado River culture areas adapted or adjusted to their desert environment. Why am I learning it? Why are you learning this? Reading and talking about the desert peoples of the Great Basin and Colorado River will help you learn more about how people adapt or adjust to physical features and resources in their environment. It's also part of your fourth grade standards that you need to learn about who were the first people that inhabited California. Who was here before we were here, and before there were McDonald's and Targets and malls and Trader Joe's. There were people here living off the land without all of those businesses, without technology, and they still were able to thrive until people killed them off. But we'll talk about that more later. How will I know that I learned it? You'll be able to explain ways that the Northern Paiute and Mojave Native Americans adapted to their desert environment. You'll also be able to state an opinion about which geographic features or natural resources of the lands were the most important to desert peoples and support your opinion with evidence. So we already read in the Impact textbook how the Mojave used the river, and also they use the cottonwood trees around them to make shelters, mud and clay as well. And so you need to think about, as you're reading, which resource was the most important for their survival and then why, and be able to explain that. And then talk about it. So you can talk about it with your parents if they're reading along with you, or I know Omar's brothers or sisters are helping him, or anyone that's able to help you as you're reading. Read the primary source. What does it tell about how the Paiute use natural resources? What details of Paiute life do you think surprised the author of the article, and how do you know? All right, so now we're going to go to page 39. Again, if I'm going a little bit fast, just pause or rewind. That's the beauty of doing it online, is that we can do that. We can pause and rewind. So here is an example of one of the shelters. Again, look at the photograph. What do you notice? Why won't this let me scroll down? Okay, hold on. That, close, and no. And zoom. And then zoom again, and then scroll. Oh man, this is not being very friendly to me at all. Will not let me scroll. I think part of it is because of the screen record. It doesn't let me scroll. There we go. All right, again, look at the background. What do you notice? Look at the foreground. Look at their tools and supplies. Let's read the caption. Tool rushes or reed like plants covered wooden branches of this wickiup, much like the ones made by the Paiute. This particular housing or shelter is called a wickiup. Look at how it's made. How do you think that it protects them from the elements of the weather as you look at it? All right, primary source. As a people, the Paiute survive on the fish of the lakes, jackrabbits, and small game of the sage plains and mountains. So game is like a small animal, like maybe a squirrel or a groundhog or something like that. um, and mountains, and from pinon nuts and other seeds which they grind into flour for bread. Their ordinary dwelling is where someone lives, is the wickiup, or small rounded hut of tool rushes over a framework of poles, with the ground for a floor and the fire in the center, and almost entirely open at the top. So let's make a connection here. Remember when we went to the Santa Monica Mountains field trip and we were making tents and we had to use those long poles that curved, and then we put the poles through the tents? So they would make like stick poles, and then they would like thread those stick poles to make their wiki ups. So we've modernized a wiki up by using steel and using cloth material for our tents, but they had the first tents made out of tools, rushes, and reed plants. Pretty cool. Their wiki ups are almost bare of everything excepting a few wicker or grass baskets of their own weaving. And this is from a newspaper called the Indian Advocate. This is the name of the newspaper. That's why I'm not changing it to Native American. June 1901. Very, very interesting. All right, let's look at page 40. And again, you can always pause if you want to go back and look. All right, let's talk about this. Artifacts of early desert people. So remember what an artifact is. An artifact, it can be a tool, it could be a basket, it could be a canteen or something you used to drink out of. It could be anything that was left behind by the native people that they used in their daily life. We call that an artifact. Why can I not pull this up? All right, so let me try it again. And zoom. There we go. All right, and now let's see if I can scroll down. Okay. Groups who lived in dry desert environments adapted or they adjusted to the desert's geographic features. It means basically they got used to the land. That's what adapted means, when you get used to something. It's just like when we talked about animals, we talked about how they adapt to their environment. Some adapt by camouflaging. So it's just how you get used to an environment. They use its natural resources to survive. So a natural resource is something that is already there as a part of the land, like the types of trees that are there, the types of plants, whether there's a river or a lake, that's natural to the environment. It wasn't built or created by humans. It was already there. Their culture, their traditions, and everyday tools and objects reflected life in a desert environment. So the things that they made were things that were found in their environment. Okay, let's look at this particular artifact. California Native American water bottle. It was woven and covered in pitch. Remember, pitch was the clay like tar, and also tar that was found native to the land as well. And they would use that, and they would cover it all over the woven basket that they made, so that when they put water or liquid in there, it wouldn't melt. I mean, not melt, leak. Sorry, I meant to say leak. Okay. Again, very creative. Like, how did they know to do that? That's what I think is so cool. And then this painted Havasupai basket was used to carry supplies. And look at the detail, the intricacy of these patterns are just so beautiful. Okay. And then let's scroll back up so you can see what you're going to do. In this blue section, this is what you're going to do. So number 1, look at the photos. What information do they show? I want you to write this on a separate sheet of paper. Circle words in the captions that you do not know. Maybe you didn't know the word pitch. You would circle that. Circle a tool with a hard surface for grinding. Grinding means mashing, smashing, grinding. And discuss with yourself or anyone around you what are some other ways that these tools can be used. And if you can write it all here in the notes section, you can. If you have enough room, then you don't have to use a separate piece of paper. All right, let's look at our last page of what we're going to do for today. Look at this next page. One more. Find evidence. Look again. What do the artifacts tell about how early desert people used their environment? So this looks like a big rock, right? Okay, it looks like they just kept pounding and pounding and pounding this rock until they made a nice curved surface. Some of you guys, your parents use a similar tool for grinding masa. Okay, so look at these. Do these look similar? This is where whatever tool your parents might be using comes from this. These are the originators of this tool. And it says under the captions, Mojave Native Americans used a large stone called a metate and a small grinding stone called a mano to grind corn, wheat, and beans. So this right here is the metate, the large stone, and this is the mano. Okay. And then look at the blue part. How did desert groups use natural resources to make everyday life easier? So again, this large stone is a natural resource. It's part of the environment. It was already there, and they just adapted and used it and created something to make their life easier. I just always, you guys know how cool I find Native American culture and history. Okay, how did desert groups use natural resources to make everyday life easier? How can you tell that art was important too? So again, let's look at this gorgeous, gorgeous basket. I mean, just the incredible talent. So they would take these plants and they would like scrape the plants so that they were nice and smooth. And then they would use them to weave and sew together these beautiful baskets. And they had to make these patterns in between, which is very artistic. All right, this is so cool. Coiled baskets like this one from the Washoe tribe was used to carry things like seeds. Just incredibly talented to be able to use the land around you to work best for you, to make tools, to make just everyday things that you would need to live that kind of life in that kind of environment without the use of technology that we have today. And then lastly, you're just going to talk to your parents or talk to yourself. You'll be your own small group about what the artifacts tell you about the everyday lives and activities of early desert people. So like basically, what did they do throughout their days? You know, they had to do quite a bit. They had to go and gather these materials. They had to think about what kinds of patterns they wanted to use. Even look at the symmetry. Like these are almost perfectly equidistant apart. I mean, that is just incredible. And then which artifacts on this page are similar to those shown in the photos on page 40? What similar tools do we use today in everyday life? Look at this jug or canteen. Okay, a pottery canteen from the northern Paiute Indians or Native Americans. And these kind of ceramic pots or canteens or whatever you like to call them are similar to some things that we've done with Miss Tammy. So think about the tools that we've used and think about the kinds of materials that we've used to make pottery with Miss Tammy. Okay, so this is all that we're going to do today. Don't forget that you need to turn in your drawing of what a Mojave shelter looks like, and make sure you can either share it with me on in a Google Doc, or you can just take a picture of it. But again, all of this is due on Sunday by 6. So you have until that time to do it. All right, guys, have a good rest of your afternoon.